put it in a little jug. You pour the milk into a little jug. And then you walk back to the fridge. So you've now got the cold milk, the tea infusing, and you've got to go and get the sugar. What do you need with the sugar? To make the sugar work, what do you need? Teaspoon. So you need a teaspoon. So you've got to go to the drawer and get the teaspoon. So you've got the teaspoon, the sugar, the cold milk and the tea. Now what do you do? Which do you pour in first? The tea. Correct answer. There's a fundamental difference between pouring the milk in first, which would seem to be quicker, than pouring the tea in first. Now, then you've got to maybe put everything together, put it on a tray and carry it through to your guest or yourself or whatever. If you watch the Japanese tea ceremony, it's like that, only a lot more complicated. But that's something dead simple, like making a cup of tea. Imagine what it's like trying to build an aeroplane. You've got to make sure that the cold milk, the sugar, the tea are all in the right place at the right time. And you're not making unnecessary trips. You're not going back and forward to the pantry to get the sugar, and then the opposite direction to get the milk. You want to make sure that everything's efficient. One of the best exponents of this is the Toyota production system. If I had time, I'd show you the video, but the Toyota production system focuses on how you make sure you do it perfectly and end up with a perfect result, a perfect forklift truck or a perfect motor car or a perfect cup of tea. Now a lot of this is based on something called just in time. Have you heard of that? JIT, just in time. So when you're manufacturing something, you don't want a lot of tyres arriving at the factory before you're assembling the wheels, because then you're going to have to put them somewhere. It takes up space. So you want the tyres arriving sometime after the axle, the drive shaft and the wheels have been assembled, and then you put the tyres on. You don't want the tyres arriving before that's been completed. So you want them just in time. So manufacturers will make sure that the vehicles that arrive at the factory arrive at exactly the right time. 10:15, 10:20, 10:25, 10:30. You have your slot time. You are not allowed to miss your slot time. So everything has got to be like a metronome. It's got to be exactly predictable and forecastable. And if it doesn't, and you have your assembly line and somebody phones up and says, "Sorry Mike, we've run out of ceramic spark plugs," your factory closes down. You don't sell any cars, you don't have any revenue, and you go out of business. So the downtime is critical. You don't want to be down for 5 minutes if you can avoid it. Half an hour is a disaster, and if you're out of business for more than 2 or 3 days, you've got major problems. One of the things that comes into this idea of JIT is TQM, Total Quality Management. Have you heard of that? Total Quality Management. Personally, I think it's rubbish, but it's very important in the industry. And the way TQM works is it talks about the right way of doing things. If there is a correct way of making a cup of tea, if you deviate from that, you're either going to build in an extra journey to the fridge or an extra journey to the pantry, or the water won't be quite hot, or you won't have quite the right number of tea leaves or whatever, and you will end up with a substandard product. If you end up with a substandard product, like a motor car, where the electrics don't work, I've discovered in Malaysia that a lot of cars have windows, electric windows, that don't work. Have you all seen that? They just don't work. I don't know why, but they don't. Now, a one-off is okay, but if it happens consistently, you start to lose customers. So you want to make sure it's exactly the right manufacturing process time and time and time again. And they have a word for it called Kaizen, which is continuous improvement. Along with Kaizen and change is another bit of jargon called business process re-engineering. I usually just call it business process, well, you can call it engineering or re-engineering, BPR. And that's that continuously changing and improving the way that you do things. And you can always improve on every single little thing that you do if you think about it and reflect on it. I mentioned supply chain management. I haven't talked about Six Sigma quality, because does anybody know what Six Sigma quality is? Yeah, you've heard of that? It's American and I think it's rubbish as well. And it occasionally crops up in courses and you're meant to know all about it. It's just basically another technique for training people in how to organise quality improvements. And I gave you the example earlier on of selling a bottle of water. Now, water falls from the sky and you drink it, and that should be it. If you told your great-grandparents that people would be buying water and paying huge sums of money for it, in the year 2015, they would not believe you. But nowadays, bottled water is de rigueur.
Welcome to Supply Chain Management. Now, I know most of you have spent your childhood evenings dreaming of taking your first supply chain management course. But for those handful of you who might not know what supply chain management is, let me provide you a brief explanation. Let's take a simple product, like a bottle of water. Clean water, a plastic bottle, a plastic cap, and a label. Buying them at the store or vending machine might cost you about $1.50. How much of that do you think is profit? Nope. Wrong. Wrong again. Not likely. Water. A plastic bottle and a label. That couldn't cost more than 50 cents. And if you buy them in bulk, how could each bottle not give you at least $1 in profit? Seriously. If you think you can make $1 per bottle, you should drop out of college right now and get into the bottled water business. You see, this right here illustrates one of the most common consumer misconceptions. Product cost is not equal to material cost. And in business, you don't have the luxury of thinking only as a consumer. You need to think like a business executive. Or better yet, an entrepreneur. So, in order to figure out where all that profit went, we need to imagine what it took for that bottle of water to get into your hands. First, you need to negotiate the purchase of the empty bottles and caps. Those bottles will be much easier to transport if they're in boxes. We'll need to shrink wrap those bottles so they don't fall out of the box. We can move a whole lot of boxes quickly if they're all put on pallets. In order to move the pallets, you'll need a forklift, which means you'll need a forklift driver. That forklift will then take the pallet and put it into a truck, which will require a truck, driver, fuel, and insurance. Also, you'll need a label for that bottle of water. Therefore, you need to design the label, print the label, and get the label shipped to the plant. Another truck, driver, more fuel, and insurance. Our water bottling plant won't be free, and neither will the energy it uses. In our bottling plant, we'll have employees and bottling machines, and let's not forget the day-to-day items like light bulbs, garbage bags, machine parts, janitorial supplies, toilet paper, and anything else that will be used at the plant by the employees. Oh yeah, and we'll also need access to the drinking water. Machines will then purify the water Other machines will bottle the water and affix the labels to the bottles. And still, another set of machines will box, shrink wrap, and then palletize the bottles. In order to move those pallets, again, you'll need a forklift, which means we'll need another forklift driver. That forklift will then take the pallets and put them into trucks headed to the distribution centers. And, as we've seen, those trucks will require drivers, fuel, and insurance. Those distribution centers will also require employees, forklifts, and energy. From the distribution center, they'll head out to retail stores on still another truck, which will require a driver, fuel, and insurance. That store will need employees to unload the truck, stock the bottles of water on the shelf or refrigerator. If you have a refrigerator, you'll of course need energy. If we want to secure our stock, we may get a security guard or a security system. And of course, the store will likely get insurance. Also, imagine the costs associated with returning and replacing bottles that are damaged. Oh, and for some reason, even bottles of water sometimes have 1-800 numbers, which means you'll need a staffed call center to answer the customer's questions about your bottle of water. Wow! All those materials, boxes, people, machines, buildings, energy, fuel, and vehicles, they cost money. Those things weren't free, and they probably weren't used efficiently, and it's likely that several bottles didn't survive the journey to the consumer. Oh, and by the way, the employees at the water company, you know, the ones that work in finance, accounting, marketing, human resources, and IT, they want a paycheck too. So, through that simple example of a super simple product, we're beginning to see that companies face challenges when they buy things, make things, move things, sell things, and service things, which includes repair and maintenance. Oh, and let's not forget, companies need to do all these things using sustainable materials, energy, and methods. Guess whose job it is to make sure that all these things happen flawlessly, with minimal effort, and of course at minimal cost? You guessed it, supply chain managers. The supply chain manager needs to be able to do all of these things. They need to give the customer the product they want, when they want it, as often as they want it, for a reasonable price, while still managing to make a profit. This requires world-class skills and knowledge in the study of supply chain management. There's that scary term again, supply chain management. Let me try to make it friendlier by shuffling around the words. There you go. The management of the chain of supplies. For some reason, that just seems a whole lot easier to understand, doesn't it? But it also helps us understand the complex nature of supply chain management. I mean, the management of the chain of supplies. Now let's think of other products and what their supply chains might encompass. Hamburgers, sweaters, coffee, tables, cars, and airplanes. Now I know many of you are saying, but I live in a service economy. I won't be manufacturing anything. Wrong again. As of 2008, the U.S. was still the #1 exporter of manufactured goods. Okay, maybe not for long. So let's talk about service economy supply chains. Let's think of something you're probably familiar with, the hotel industry. What do hotels manufacture? Lodging experiences, dining experiences, spa experiences, which altogether make up vacation and conference experiences. In order to do all of these things effectively and efficiently, what's required? Hotels need to buy things like beds, furniture, televisions, cable, food, soaps, towels. They also make things, or in this case, manufacture services, like housekeeping, meals, massages, and special events. Hotels also move things, like transporting clean towels and food to and from the rooms, as well as transporting guests and their luggage to and from the airport. They even sell things, like in-room movies, internet services, and tickets to events. And finally, they also provide services, such as making reservations, organizing events, making wake-up calls, and even cleaning and pressing clothes. Once again, we see that the fundamental skills learned in supply chain management can be used to manufacture service experiences, as much as they aid in manufacturing products. Well, I hope that this has given you an idea of what supply chain management is all about. You see, this is the reason why little kids all around the world want to be supply chain managers. They want to take part in manufacturing the best products and services on earth. So again, welcome to supply chain management, where all of your childhood supply chain dreams are about to come true.
Hands up if you want to be a supply chain manager.